Look at this picture. Have you seen this before? Try to remember, where have you seen? Yes, so we see it daily on our notes, on our coins, on the passport. So you see how we come across this picture in our everyday life. So what is the significance of this symbol? So this symbol is the national emblem of India. And this was made by a very famous Mauryan king, Ashoka. So now let us know more about Ashoka. Ashoka came to the throne in 273 BCE. And was known to be very ruthless and ambitious. He was ready to show his valor to everyone. But do you know there is a mythology that revolves around Ashoka? It is said that Ashoka killed 99 of his brothers and royal officials to ascend the throne. So you see how he was so ambitious to come to the throne that he had to kill so many people, take lives of so many innocent people. Now here you see the Aramaic inscription found in Sirkap near Takshila, which suggests that Ashoka had made a name for himself in the Mauryan Empire by suppressing a revolt in Takshila. Now according to a text, Divya Vadana, it is said that Bindusara had chosen his son Sushima to succeed the throne and make him a ruler. But as you already know that Ashoka killed 99 of his brothers to ascend the throne, it was a 4-year succession conflict that took place because Ashoka wanted to ascend the throne instead of his brother Sushima, and Ashoka was backed up by the ministers of Bindusara. Now this person that you see here is Ashoka, one of the greatest emperor, greatest monarch to have ruled in India. He ascended the throne after his father in the year 273 BCE. Ashoka is known to be very ambitious, and he wanted to prove his valor under any circumstances. There is a myth that revolves around him that he killed 99 of his brothers and royal officials to ascend the throne. But it was Ashoka who expanded the Mauryan Empire across the subcontinent, because at that time India was not in a divided state, it was a part of the subcontinent. So Ashoka expanded his army, his empire across the subcontinent. Now kings fight many battles. Similarly, Ashoka also fought many battles. But he was very adamant and keen on getting the land of Kalinga under his empire. But can you tell me, why was Ashok so adamant to get Kalinga under his rule? As you can see, Kalinga is on the sea coast. In the present day Orissa, this is where you find it. So it's on the sea coast. So having this position, you can say that Kalinga had control over the sea and land trade routes to South India and South Asia. So having Kalinga under his empire would mean that it would bring economic prosperity and wealth to the empire. So this was one reason why Ashok was so keen on getting Kalinga under his rule. There was also another reason why Ashoka was so adamant on getting this land. As you have known earlier that Kalinga till now was not under the rule of any of the Mauryan emperors. So this was taken up as a challenge by Ashoka to get Kalinga under his empire. So it was taken as a military challenge because Kalinga did not subdue to any of the emperors of the Mauryan dynasty earlier. Now, every war has some or the other result. Someone loses and someone wins. So, in the War of Kalinga that was fought in 261 BCE, this war was fought against King Kharavela of Kalinga. But in this case, Ashok won. And This war caused huge casualties, much bloodshed, and millions of lives of innocent people were lost. Now, you saw why Kalinga was so important. But can you tell me what makes the War of Kalinga so important? The War of Kalinga is very important in the Indian history because it serves as the turning point in the life of Ashoka. How did it serve as a turning point? As you already know that this war caused a lot of casualties, much bloodshed. This sight deeply saddened Ashoka. It is also suggested in the Rock Edict 13 that the sight of the massacre moved Ashoka greatly. Now, when Ashoka was moved greatly, what consequences did it lead to? So, Ashoka as a result adopted non-violence and turned to Buddhism. Now, when a person resorts to non-violence, he would obviously have to give up anything that resorts to violence. So he had to give up on war conquest, he would have to give up on the killing of living creatures. So he gave up Digvijaya and Bherigosha, which means territorial conquest. And instead of this, he followed Dhamma Vijaya and Dhamma Gosha, which means the conquest through the spread of moral law of Dhamma. Moral law of Dhamma is the base principle of the religion of Buddhism. So now let us see what did Ashoka actually teach in his Dhamma Vijaya. So he asked people to treat elders with respect, that is Susrusa. He said that the teachers are also to be respected, which meant apachiti. He asked people not to harm the animals, Avihimsa Bhutanam. He asked them to always be truthful, which is Satyam. He even told his people to be closely related to the path of Dhamma, which meant Dhammarati. He asked them to be pure at heart, that is Bhavashuddhi. He asked them to be generous while giving donation, yet still spend money very carefully, which means Danam. And lastly, he asked his people to respect all the religions and ascetic, which meant Sampratipatti. He told his people that grand rituals will bring no benefit to them. So he asked them to follow these law of Dhamma, which would even reward them in life and afterlife. So can you now very quickly tell me which modern emperor transformed and adopted Dhamma? Is it Chandragupta Maurya, or Kharavela, or Ashoka? Yes, it is Ashoka. As you know that Ashoka started to spread the moral law of Dhamma. But how will it be possible for one person to educate such a huge mass? Because the modern empire was expanded over a huge land mass. So for this, Ashoka took upon a method of teaching that involved him to be the example. He thought that if yes, I can be the example, my subjects and subordinates will follow me. So for that, he gave up on killing of animals for food, he gave up on war conquest, he gave up on violence. Having said that, you can already imagine what kind of a person he was actually. So this was a huge achievement. So he wanted to set an example for his subjects so that his subjects could follow him. But touring would not always be necessary. It was not always possible for him to tour over such a huge landmass. So for that, what he did was the messages that he wanted to convey to his masses was engraved on pillars and edicts. These messages that were engraved on the pillars were known as the pillar edicts, and the messages that were engraved on the rocks became to be known as the rock edicts. There were many carvings that were also made at many places. What you see here is the carving on the southern gateway of the Sanchi Stupa. Now he already got his messages engraved on the pillars, carvings and rocks. But how would he make sure that people actually applied these laws in their real life? So in order to keep a check on these, he appointed special officers whom he used to call as Dhamma Mahamathyas. So the function of these Dhamma Mahamathyas was to see and ensure that the people in real life applied the rules of Dhamma. So another function of these Dhamma Mahamathyas was to spread the Dhamma throughout the empire, because there were many people who could not read or write. So for them, verbal communication was the only way. You must have noticed that during elections, political parties use certain vehicles, and with that a loudspeaker is attached and a person constantly keeps on saying things and propagating whatever messages they have to convey. Similarly, these Dhamma Mahamathyas were of the same use. They used to ensure that people applied the teachings of Dhamma, and they were also used to spread the word of Dhamma across the empire. Ashoka was not happy with the teachings to be spread only within his kingdom. He wanted his teachings of Dhamma to be spread across the world. So for that, he sent his son Mahendra and daughter Sangamitra to Sri Lanka. Why? So that they can spread his word, the teachings of Dhamma, across the world. Ashoka also held the third Buddhist council at Patliputra, the present-day Patna in Bihar. Ashoka also sent certain emissaries to certain parts of the world which were far away, like Syria, Greece and North Africa. But can you tell me why a person would not send emissaries to spread his messages to the neighboring countries like China? So at the time when Ashoka was busy going beyond the bars of caste, creed, religion, social background and everything, China on the other hand was building the Great Wall of China to keep the pastoralists away, to keep the outsiders in check so that they could not invade China. When on one hand Ashoka was building inclusive structure to spread the messages of Dhamma, on the other hand China was building a restrictive structure. As you already know, Ashoka was a benevolent and he gave his kingdom 40 years of peaceful and harmonious life. But one day, when he was lying on his bed in his old age, he was thinking about his children and got sad. He sent them to Sri Lanka. His grandchildren were fighting for the throne. This scene deeply saddened him because, being a peaceful person he was, he did not expect this. His queen, Trisha, was also plotting against him. All these deeply saddened him. So to get peace in his life, he decided to become a monk so as to meditate and understand the laws of Dhamma better. So can you remember this picture that we saw at the beginning of the presentation? So this is the lion capital of Sarnath pillar, which is used as the national emblem of India. This was erected by Ashoka at the site of Buddha's first sermon. And this has Ashoka chakra in the middle, as you can see, which represents the moving wheel of Dhamma or the Dhamma chakra. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app and get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology, get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.